Welcome, friends. And it's the Grumpy Old Man, broadcasting live from Studio B of WDWL TV, located on Grumpy Vulture Boulevard. Every night. And we are a division of Grumpy Vulture Productions. All right. Enough. Get back in your cage. You know, the title says Grumpy and Technology. The technology is not what I'm going to show you, because we're going to discuss Grumpy and Technology. Let me do a little adjustment here. I have a new microphone stand, and I'm kind of getting used to it here. So give me a second here. That should be better. Yeah. Actually, it's not as high as it looks when I'm raising it up. Just as I was raising it up, the thing looks like it's 7 foot tall. No, it just brings the mic up rather than the arm. This was another little, gift in the box that I didn't really pay attention to when I took the other Yeti mic out. The fancy platinum with the chrome. Remember last week, or maybe a week and a half ago, I showed you that little tiny red external hard drive? Well, I couldn't pass up the deal because I received a notice on eBay from the seller, who basically is overstocked. So he offered me the next step up external hard drive for the same price. So today it arrived. Look at this. 2 Tyrannosaurus bites. The other one was 1. This is 2 Tyrannosaurus bites. In this little... Yeah, I'll show you. I mean, in the box it doesn't quite do it justice. Yeah, 2 Tyrannosaurus bites. That's it. USB 3.0, 2 Tyrannosaurus bites in this external. Now, it says external case, but believe me, there's goodies inside there. I looked. Well, I looked on the red one because it was so light. I was like, evidently I have to put a hard drive inside it. No, this right here. 2 Tyrannosaurus bites. I will never, first of all, I will never store enough data on the 1 Tyrannosaurus bite, let alone the 2. But since I got the offer to get the 2 Tyrannosaurus bite for the same price, I couldn't pass it up. But that's not the technology that we're talking about. We're talking about the lack of technology last night. I don't know what went haywire. Remember at the beginning of the stream I said there was something that said terminated, or up in the corner it just flashed really quick? Well, anybody that attempted to watch the stream on Facebook, I would freeze. And I would continue talking, but my motions would freeze. And then I would, and it, for some reason, it half-assed was on Faceplant, but useless tube, nothing. So I have no idea whether it was a problem with me and YouTube or me and Prism. All I know is last night's stream got totally screwed up. I don't know. Like I say, I got that little flash up in the corner of something terminated. So, but you know, it blew by so fast. I don't know what got terminated. Evidently, it was my stream. Although, there's a possibility, although I don't think so. I just had a major update for Prism. That couldn't have been the problem last night, because before it'll even let me start the stream, it pops up with the update notice. And either you click update now or update, later. I always update immediately. I didn't get that notification last night. So I have no idea what went haywire. All I know is if there's going to be a confabulation with technology, it's going to happen to me. It wasn't nothing that important anyway, you know. I just technical difficulties. And there is one thing I want to discuss tonight. And it's falls in the technology range, you know, social media. Social media was basically invented to bring us closer together. Now, in a way it does, because now I can get on a Zoom and Zoom with my cousin up in Rhode Island, and it's like we're sitting in the same room. But it has ruined things that my generation did. Back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, we would go to a friend's house, knock on the door, come on in, sit and socialize, face to face, in the same room. Now, we can be face to face on social media, but you don't dare just jump in the car like we did and drive across town and knock on someone's door. Those days are gone. And I blame social media for it, because now, instead of the surprise visit, you have to clear it on social media. You know, you gotta get on the Talk Clock or Faceplant, Twitch, and go, can I come and visit? No. Okay. Back in the day, I loved to get a surprise visit. Not nowadays. You don't dare just drop in on someone like we used to. Of course, it was a way different generation. You know, we didn't have all of this. God, I remember my one aunt and uncle didn't even have a TV set. They had a radio. Big monster. Goddamn radio. He had two jobs. One, he had a big farm. Big farm out in Columbia Station. Big. And he drove semi at night. He worked for, which is no longer, Tip Top Bakery. They were on Chester Avenue. Tip Top. And his job was to make the bread. Now, I don't know how many semi-loads went down. I'm sure he wasn't the only driver. You know, one 40 foot, 45-foot trailer, you know. So I'm sure there was more than one. But they didn't have a bakery in Columbus. So every night he would drive from around, I think it was like 50th and Chester or something like that, down to Columbus and back. And you know, that was before all the super freeways and that, you know. And then, you know, he would get home early in the morning because he drove all night, do his farming, then go to bed, wake up like at 9 o'clock at night. And, you know, to drive from Columbia Station downtown to Chester was all back roads. There was no, you know, freeways. So it probably took him easily an hour and a half to drive downtown. Because Columbia Station is out off a road close to North Ridgeville, on the border of North Ridgeville. I'll tell you what, going out Columbia West River Road in the summer, when I was a kid, you know, my parents would go out to visit him, and just the nicest scenery, because that was all farm country back in the day. And it would, you know, whatever was in season, you know, like it was strawberry time, or, you know, green bean time. There were always little roadside stands. You know, the farmers. And a lot of it was the kids' 4-H projects to run these, you know, roadside stands. And you couldn't get any fresher vegetables. I remember the one corn farmer. The wagon would pull in, and there would be the corn. Fresh picked. You couldn't get it any fresher, right off the stalk. Not like today. 90% of those farms are gone. Technology. A lot of the farms were bought up for housing developments. It don't take much to get me off the beaten track. But, like I say, technology. All of these social media platforms were meant to bring us closer together. Not really. Because we've lost the human contact. You know, you would go to visit friends, and, you know, there'd be handshakes and hugs, and you can't do that over the screen, sure, you can say, hey, hi, hi, Aunt Susie, hi, Uncle Bob. But do you get that nice hug, that nice warm greeting? No. Now, for this current generation, it's the cat's ass for them. Ruined it for our generation. Ruined it completely. But time marches on. I had to run up to Mark's today. Needed to get a couple items for dinner. I don't stock up on a lot of stuff. Whatever I get a taste for in the morning, then I go. So, in the aisle next to me, person maybe had 40 items, maybe 50, had a cart full. And after the girl had finished scanning the customer, she was told, okay, you can go on break. Well, she turns the light off, and she puts the chain across so that it shows her aisle is closed. And she was like, oh my God, I had to scan all those items. I didn't think I would ever get done. And I says to her, be thankful you don't have the old punch button registers like they had back in the 50s and 60s. And she looked at me like I was speaking a different language. And I said, look up cashiers from the 50s and cash registers. God, I remember my aunt was a cashier up at A&P Foods. We used to have an A&P grocery store, supermarket up in the plaza. And her register had 300 buttons on it. And, they did everything by hand. She would pick up an item and tick, 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 bing, and she would hit the ad bar. And what she had to do was punch in the item number, because even back then they had codes, but not barcodes. So, 703, 49 cents, bing. The next item, 57 cents, bing. $1.49, bing. And I'll tell you what, she was like lightning on that register. I used to just love to stand and watch her ring, because she'd be punching all the buttons, like an old typewriter, pick, 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 plus, plus, plus. And now, people bitch because they have to go blip, blip, blip. Back in the day, before they came up with a formal term for it, women had the nastiest carpal tunnel, because it was that repetitive motion of hitting those keys, and then, my aunt had a callus on the edge of her hand from hitting the add button, because the add button was a little bigger than the keys. The keys were about the size of keys on your keyboard. But the ad button, the subtotal button was, and punch, 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 ad, punch, 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 ad, bang, bing, 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 ad, bing, 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 ad. She was like lightning. I had a good laugh when the girl went, "Oh my God, I didn't think I'd ever get done scanning." If these kids nowadays had to ring registers like they did back in the 50s and 60s before the, invention of the barcode and the scanners, they wouldn't want to work. It's sad. This one kid was stocking shelves, and they called him to the front to go out and round up carts. Now, the carts at the one I shop at, they're not in the parking lot. They're right in front of the store. And it was like, Sam up front for carts. And he stood up and he was wiping, rearranging merchandise, wiping the shelf before he put the new merchandise up. And he stood up and he threw that rag down and went, "God, I love my job." And, I wanted to tell him, you wouldn't survive back in the 50s and 60s, kid. You wouldn't last. Back in the day, people worked their asses off. Whether it be a grocery store, we didn't have the homeless depot and blows, and you had your mom and pop hardware stores, and you had a lot of mom and pop little grocery stores, and you had your occasional supermarket. We had we had Pick and Pay, A&P, Fisher's, Kroger's. Trying to think. A&P, Pick and Pay, Fisher's, Kroger's, Tops. I know I'm forgetting, but we had several supermarkets back in the day. And everything was done by hand. They didn't have the automatic floor scrubbers. You mopped the floor with a mop. You rang each item by hand, punching buttons on a register. Tick, 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 tick. Not blip, blip, blip. These kids today don't know what manual labor is. To complain because she had to scan 40 or 50 items. And back in the day, you had to know how to make change. The cash register didn't tell you. You had to know how to make change. Kids nowadays, if the register don't tell them give the customer back $4.67, they're lost. They're like, oh, wait a minute, he gave me a 20 and it's, I mean, oh, God. Yeah. Back in the day, we didn't have technology that told us how much change to give a customer back. But I couldn't, I couldn't believe it when she come. Oh, God, I didn't think I'd ever get done scanning. This generation doesn't know how easy they have it due to technology. It's not just social media. Technology changed everything. Cash registers and scanners, for one. If they had to hand ring every single item, like my aunt did back in the day, and you also, while you were speed ringing on that register, you had to make sure that you rang grocery and produce. There was separate keys. Grocery, produce, beverages. And God forbid you screwed up and rang something wrong, because then you had to manually void it, basically almost start over. Don't complain that she had to scan 40 items. Thank God you have technology, sweetheart. You don't know how easy technology has made your job. And then to complain. Oh, it just fries my ass to hear this younger generation complain about how hard they have to work. One of my part-time jobs after school, I worked for a company called Tasty Catering. They were over on Berea Road, where Pat Catan's used to be. Now it's a self-store, facility. And I packed school lunch orders. In a cooler at 32 degrees for 4 to 5 hours a night. By hand, I would get a list. All right, 300 ham sandwiches, and I'd have to count them out. They were packaged in, cellophane, so that they could be heated. 400 hot dogs. Counting them out at 32 degrees by hand. These kids wouldn't last. No way. The only benefit was Sunday afternoon, the bakery ran cream puffs. Oh my God, they were huge and full of nice fluffy cream inside. And I would drive down, and they always had a rack of misshapen maybe underfilled cream puffs. And you could get a dozen free. Well, I made sure every Sunday I was there for my cream puffs. Same thing in the bakery. It was no automation. I remember the poor guy that used to work the oven. And he would be loading, those little sugar crust pies. And then you'd have to watch them and check them. Make sure they didn't overbake. And then take them out and rack them. He'd sweat his ass off. No modern technology there. So kids, appreciate the technology that you have. And 2, appreciate your job. God, every store I go to, I hear kids complain about how hard they have to work. They have no idea how technology has made their job so goddamn easy. And then they bitch. Oh my God. Technology screwed Grumpy last night. Yeah. Hopefully. I didn't see no red warning pop up in the screen here, so I should be good. And with that, I'm going to close out the technology. I also fixed my clicker. Yeah, fixed my